So right now, Armory ROIs are not looking that great. Yes, we have the Sport and Field Collection at 118, Elemental at 114. Those are like okay, but historically, those are really not that strong. It has not been uncommon to see a lot of stuff in the Armory at 120, 130, 140% ROIs. But obviously, ROIs being down also means prices are down as well. And that means this could potentially be a really, really good time to buy as a medium to long-term investment, to start loading up on stuff that is very, very likely to be discontinued in the future. So in this video today, I want to take a look at a couple of different items in the Armory and try to figure out what's going to be removed next. Try to find out if there's any things that are maybe a little bit underrated, undervalued, maybe some things that would be some good purchases right now that might be able to make us some money in the future. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Today's video is sponsored by SkinSwap, and they're offering you a free skin worth up to $50 when you use code GERM and complete your first trade with them today. It's very simple. It's very easy. All you have to do is click on the skins that you're looking to get rid of and then scroll through the amazing selection of skins that they have available and click on the ones that you want instead. It's that simple. It's that easy. And also, SkinSwap is also offering a very, very cool opportunity, the ability to buy skins for you from Chinese marketplaces. Prices are very, very cheap in China right now. There are some great deals to be had, and SkinSwap is going to help you get your hands on your favorite skins for an amazing price today. So definitely go check them out with that first link in the description below. So for the very first time ever, when we had stuff discontinued from the Armory, obviously we saw a sticker collection discontinued in Character Craft. We saw a weapon set discontinued in the graphic design collection, and we saw a case discontinued with the gallery case being discontinued. So the only thing that we have yet to see discontinued is one of these charm sets. So that leaves us with two OG charm sets. We have the small arms and the missing link. And what you can actually see here is right now, these unboxing ROIs sitting at 104, 103% are pretty much dead even, meaning prices are probably very similar, meaning demand is probably also very similar. So it is very, very difficult, at face value to find out which one is actually going to be removed next. So that's why I wanted to dive into the numbers a little bit deeper. So I pulled up, using the CS Float database, all the application numbers for both the missing link and the small arm charms, and tried to figure out and tried to come up with an idea of which of these would be removed next, but also tried to give us an idea of what are maybe some overrated and underrated potential charms or investments from either of these collections. So first, looking at the missing link charm, some interesting stuff here. Obviously, you have the Hot Howl as the most applied of the two red charms, with Hot Howl having about 7,000 applications and Hot Worst having about 4,300. Now, obviously, charm applications are a little bit different than sticker applications. You have to keep that in mind because, again, you can remove charms. So not only can this number both go up and down, it can also change all the time. It can change very fast. And again, somebody applying something is not as permanent as applying a sticker. It's not the same thing. You're not removing one from circulation. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay on that weapon either. But right now, as of yesterday, as of November 24th, this is what we were looking at. The Hot Howl was the highest applied red from this collection. It's also the most expensive charm from this collection as well. Again, it's about $60. Hot Worst being about $40. These are Steam prices, and it had more applications. Now, if we go down to the pinks, we have Diner Dog being the least applied. We have Lil Monster being second, and Diamond Dog at 20,000 applications. Again, they have a lot more applications than the reds. That's just normal. They have a lot more supply, everything right there too. And then again, these the pinks are in order of their application rates. You have Diner Dog at about $6, Lil Monster about $12, Diamond Dog at about $20. I don't think it's really anything too interesting here. I don't know. Diamond Dog is significantly more expensive than Lil Monster with not really that many more applications. So maybe you could say Lil Monster's a little bit underrated. Maybe you could say Diamond Dog's a little bit overrated. But I don't know. I don't really think there's too many conclusions to draw from that. Now, getting down into the purples, we'll see Squatch as the least applied purple, Lil Whiskers, Sandy, Lil Teacup, Banana, and Chicken Lil. But honestly, the application numbers are pretty similar here. You have Lil Whiskers and Chicken Lil between 46,000 and 50,000. That's pretty close. The only one that really, really stands out as a lower applied from these purples is the Lil Squatch. It seems very, very unpopular. It has almost 5,000 less applications than Lil Whisker. But of this group, you have Sandy at $1.06. You have Sandy being a lot cheaper than all these other purples, despite having pretty similar application numbers. You also have Lil Teacup sitting at 262, despite the fact that it has not even the most application numbers and kind of a middling application numbers in terms of the purple. So again, when I look at this data, I would say maybe Sandy is a little bit undervalued right now, could potentially be a good investment or a good pickup at these prices, but also Lil Teacup is maybe one that I would stay away from. I know Lil Teacup I think has like the rare patterns, is kind of interesting, whatever, but again, as far as people actually using it, I want to invest in stuff that actually has genuine demand not just hyped up in terms of price and stuff like that. So if Sandy's being applied a lot and its price is a little bit undervalued, and Teacup is not really being applied that much, its price may be a little bit overrated, maybe I would stay away from Teacup and maybe I would look towards Sandy here. And then finally, getting into the blues for here, we have Ava as a least applied, SAS, Sauce, Kev, Crass, and then Salt. And what's interesting here, SAS is actually the most expensive blue from the Missing Link collection, but it's actually the most expensive despite being the second least applied. So kind of interesting there. And then as far as prices and stuff, I don't know. We see these all at right about 30 cents, again, despite the fact that they have more applications than SAS. So again, maybe SAS is a little bit overrated. Maybe I'd be looking to buy, Salt, because it's the most applied charm from this entire thing. And if we look at both of these columns, Salt is actually, the most applied blue from either collection. It's tied with Pocket Op. It's a little bit more expensive than Pocket Op, though, so again, maybe it's not necessarily the best thing here. But I don't know. I just thought this was kind of interesting. And then, again, when we start to compare this all together, we can also take a look here at, I don't know why this isn't titled, but this is obviously going to be those small arms charms. And again, we can start to make comparisons between the two, and what I started to think is a little bit interesting. Again, we look at Carrot CT and Carrot T. Again, actually pretty similar application numbers. Yes, Carrot T is definitely more, but again, there's only a 600 application difference between these two, and we have almost 3,000 application difference between these two, and we have very similar prices. But here between Carrot CT and Carrot T, we have a smaller application difference, but a bigger price difference. So that leads me to believe, or maybe I could draw a conclusion that the Carrot CT is maybe a little bit underrated, and maybe that price should be a little bit higher. Maybe there shouldn't be such a big price discrepancy here. I think that's kind of interesting. Also, if we look at all these put together, again, Hot Howl is the most applied red from either of these collections. Hot Worst is the least applied red from either of these collections. But Hot Worst, again, despite being the least applied, it actually is sitting at $40. Carrot CT, it's the third most applied, and it's the cheapest. Maybe Carrot CT is a little bit underrated there. Maybe Hot Worst is a little bit overrated. I don't know exactly what you want to draw from that, but you can see overall the application numbers are pretty in line. Yes, Hot Howl is very popular. Hot Worst is pretty unpopular, but the overall numbers, you have 11,700 small arm reds, and you have 11,300 missing link reds. So actually more of these small arm reds have been applied so far, which is kind of interesting. Now, if we get down to the pinks, we can see here we have had 50,000 missing link pinks applied, and we have had 60,000 small arm pinks applied. And part of this has to do with the fact that Semi-Precious is so popular. Again, Semi-Precious sitting at $34 on Steam, but also 27,000 applications. Also, the Titanium Op is more popular than the Little Monster as well. This is very, very interesting. Again, you'll see Diner Dog, 11,000 applications, Squirt, 11,000 applications. Prices pretty similar. But Little Monster, 17,000 applications. That is about, I don't know, call it 18,000, but it's like 3,000 or 4,000 less than a Titanium Op, but the Titanium Op is actually $5 cheaper. So this means Titanium Op could be a good value at these prices. Titanium Op could be a little bit underrated here. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Again, that is a big price discrepancy despite more applications. And then, like I said, you have Semi-Precious, way higher than Diamond Dog, but also the price way higher than Diamond Dog as well. Semi-Precious is actually more expensive than the Carrot CT. So I don't know. Semi-Precious, I know it's a really cool charm. I know it's got the rare patterns and all that stuff, but me paying $34 for a charm, again, what am I expecting it to go to? I'm expecting the Semi-Precious charm base to be $100 a couple years from now. I don't know. I think you're going to have more easy ways to double, triple, 5x, 10x your money on probably some cheaper stuff. So I don't know. If I was going to invest in a pink, just by looking at this between the two collections right now, my money would be going into the Titanium Op. I don't know. I really like how the Hot Howl has high application numbers, but again, the price kind of scares me. Carrot CT maybe a little bit underrated. Titanium Op maybe a little bit underrated. Those are kind of things I'd keep my eye on. Little Monster maybe even a little bit overrated at $12.32. Also what we're finding. Now, also what is interesting between these two collections, there's only 5 purples in the small arms and 6 purples in the missing link, so that will skew these numbers a little bit, but we can look at the overall application numbers. 313,000 purples for the small arms, and then we have 276,000 for the missing link. So again, despite having less purples in the small arm charms, we're still getting more purples applied in the small arms as well. But we can take a look at prices once again. Again, when we compare across these two, we see the Die-Cast AK, very cool charm, by far the most applied purple here, but even the Disco Mac, again, these are going to have a little bit higher application numbers because you're going to be dropping more often, so it's a little bit harder to compare, but you will see here, Chicken Little, 50,000 applications. Disco Mac has more than that, and it's cheaper than the Chicken Little as well. Hot Hands also has more than that, and again, it's cheaper, so I don't know, maybe some of the small arm charms is a little bit underrated, but also, again, it's going to have higher supply because there are more more of each of these purples being dropped. But again, there's also higher application numbers as well. So there is a little bit more demand on this side. Some of the purples on the missing link side are looking a little bit weak. Now, again, is that just because of supply constraints or whatever? I don't necessarily know. But also, even when you just compare within the small arm category itself, again, you'll see here, Disco Mac is the second highest applied purple, and it is the cheapest purple of the bunch as well. So Disco Mac could potentially just be an underrated asset at the $1.03, even hot hands at $1.04, 59,000 applications is kind of interesting. And again, diecast, I know it's very popular, it's very cool, but again, $6, that's a little bit tough. That's way, way, way more expensive than these other purples. I don't know. But again, I would still like the diecast, aka the $6 price point, more than the semi-precious at the 34, just because overall, buying cheap stuff tends to end up being pretty good for whatever reason in CS2 investing. Now, getting down into the blues as well, we have 1.24 million small arm blues, and we have 1.26 million missing link blues. So pretty much at every level, the small arm charms has been outperforming missing link. But all these levels are also pretty similar. You know, not huge differences, not anything too crazy. But we do see here again more. We actually have more of the missing link blues being applied here, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. But again, we do have the most popular ones being Salt and Pocket Op having about the same application numbers overall, but Pocket Op actually being 7 cents cheaper. So Pocket Op, maybe one of these blues to watch out for, maybe something to keep in mind. Also, the cheapest of all of these is going to be the Backsplash at 12 cents. Again, it with 190,000 applications has more than Ava, more than SAS, and it's actually half the price of these. So maybe Backsplash a little bit underrated, but also Stitch Loaded here with 237,000. This would put it at the second most, applied missing link charm, or the third most applied blue overall, only being 13 cents. I think could be one to pick up as well. This could be very, very interesting. So there is definitely some big discrepancies in some of these between the application numbers and in terms of the prices. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, you should always be comparing application numbers, be comparing prices, be comparing, genuine demand that you're seeing. But there is definitely a difference between investor demand and actually being applied and used and stuff. And being applied and used, yes, while charms can be removed and while charms, don't go out of circulation as soon as they're applied or anything, also you can kind of pseudo have them removed if they're actually applied and just people leave them on their play skins and whatever, which I think is more likely to happen with cheaper charms and more expensive ones, obviously. But if people are actually applying them, that gives them a higher chance of, being stuck on some weapon, not being removed, coming out of circulation, coming out of supply. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But when we take a look at the overall application numbers, again, people tend to believe that the least popular collections are going to be the ones removed. We have 1.62 million of these small arm charms applied, and if we go over to the missing link, we have 1.59 million. So again, we have more of these small arm charms being applied. The small arm charms seem to be more popular, which would lead us to believe that it is more likely that the missing link charms are going to be the next ones removed. So I don't know. It's something to keep in mind. I think another thing to keep in mind here is that we did recently get the missing link community charms. So if they remove the small arm charms, that means we would have Dr. Boom charms, missing link charms, and the second missing link charms collection. Like, do I think they want to just have the Armory only loaded up with missing link charms? No, I don't. I think the fact that we already got another missing link charm collection makes it more likely that the missing links will be the next one's removed. We also see them having a lower ROI. We see them having lower application numbers. We see them having lower prices. I think things are kind of leading towards the missing link charms being the next ones removed from the Armory, which means they are more likely, in my opinion, to be the better investment right now to take advantage of a potential short-term boom from when these things are removed. So again, if I was looking at different investments at these different price points, I think Hot Howl is obviously a very, very interesting one. It's very popular, the most applied red. It's expensive, but whatever. I wouldn't mind throwing a little bit of money into Hot House just because it's such a cool charm. It's one of the better charms from, either of these collections. It's very sick. I would definitely stay away from Lil Monster. Diamond Dog could be okay. Again, the application numbers aren't really that great for the price, so I don't really know that I love any of these pinks. If I was going to go for purples, I think Sandy definitely stands out to me in terms of the application numbers and price point here. Also, Banana seems like okay. Chicken Lil seems okay. But again, as always, I do think the blues might be the most interesting price point. Again, some of these are just so damn cheap. And again, if I was looking at blues, I think any of these, I think Sauce, Kev, Crass, and Salt, but Salt especially for 31 cents, having such good application numbers, could be ones to look out for. But overall, if I was looking between both these collections, I actually think the small arm charms has better deals right now, better price points for the application numbers we're seeing. But missing link, since it is more likely, in my opinion, to be removed next, I think it's going to see the more imminent short-term boom in terms of price. So again, the ones I would definitely be looking at here are Sauce, Kev, Crass, Salt, Sandy, and then probably the Hot Howl Charm as well. That's where I'd be loading up my money. But I actually do think that the Missing Link Charms will be the next ones removed. It's not going to be for a few months. I'm expecting, March, April, May of 2026, somewhere in there. But that does mean you have months to start loading up, start accumulating. That's the best time. You want to have a long accumulation phase. So once prices do start to pop and start to pump, then you actually have a big supply built up. That's how you make money. You don't want to start buying right before you think you're going to be removed, because then you don't have as much time to accumulate. You're not going to have as much supply. You're not going to have as much money. But you start saving up over the next couple months, you start buying into these a little bit here and there over time, you're going to end up with a nice little chunk of inventory that then has a chance to explode. So to me right now, buying some of these blues from the Missing Link collection is not necessarily the worst move in the world. And that's probably what I'm going to be doing here over the next couple months. But that's pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hopefully I catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.